Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our series of how to become a web developer from the start. We already did our HTML crash course, we did our CSS crash course. By the way, everything is down in the video description if you want to check out the code. Also, if you want to check out the videos, follow me on my channel. And now, as I promised, it's time to create a couple of projects. So today we're going to create one simple project. I'm not going to use any kind of JavaScript. We're going to use CSS and HTML in order to create little navigation bar. I have to zoom in here a bit. Okay, so navigation bar with hover effect, here a drop shadow, a dark background here for the nav bar, and also you have a blue background for the body. And when we are going to reach a certain display, then the navigation would turn into a hamburger menu. Boom, there we go. And if we click on this little fella, it's going to turn into an X, and we're going to have the nav bar back opened up again. So no JavaScript whatsoever. Also, if we have this opened and we pass that certain threshold for the screen size, it's going to turn back into a regular navigation bar. But if we go back here, then it's going to turn back into a hamburger menu. Okay, so really cool project, really short project. We're going to cover a lot of things. Also, we're going to cover a couple of things that we did not cover in the CSS crash course. Fun time ahead. Finished code is down in the video description. Definitely check that out. Subscribe to the channel, like this video to help me out, grow the channel, of course. And with this being said, let's get started with our project here. So we have Visual Studio Code open. I just have a folder called code, drag and dropped it in here. Everything that we did until now is in that folder. Rearrange everything. My name is Norbert BM, by the way, and I teach web development. And I would really like if you subscribe to the channel and learn some web development with me. So let's create here a project folder. So project multiple. We're going to create multiple projects. In here, we're going to create another folder. We're going to call this hamburger and underscore dash menu. Cool. Now within here, we're going to create a file. We're going to call this index.html, and also just hold down Shift exclamation mark, create a boilerplate. We're going to give this a name of menu, and then we're going to create a CSS file. So style, be sure you're creating it in your project folder. Style.css, link this little fellow up here, a link tag, and style.css, you should always see it. Link it up to your HTML files. My notes. Where are my notes? There are my notes. Okay, so first things first, we're going to do the HTML part, and then we're going to move to the CSS part. And as I promised, we're going to do multiple simple HTML and CSS projects, and only then we're going to move to a JavaScript crash course, and then we're going to integrate JavaScript in each and every one of these projects and create separate projects using JavaScript. And I'm more, if you followed all of my courses, I'm more a project-based teacher. So I want you to do it yourself, and that means create a lot of projects. So less theory, more practice. So let's get started. Within our body tag, we're going to create, first of all, don't forget to have your live server installed. Everything, each and every extension that you need, we already covered. I already covered it. If I had multiple personalities, I already covered it in the beginning of this series with setting up Visual Studio Code, what you should install in Visual Studio Code. So check it out. Let's open this up. Right click and open with live server. Okay, so here's our nothing, because it didn't write anything in the body. So what we're going to do next is just create a simple nav tag. Remember, when you're using, so this is not a React project where everything is a div. Also, we want this to be CSS SEO friendly. So definitely define your tags, because you could also use your div tag, but define your tags as they are. Also, I'm going to give this the ID of mobile menu. Okay, within here, within our nav tag, we're going to create a input that's going to be hidden, because this little fellow right here is actually an input tag. But I made a small little change to it. It's actually a checkbox. Checkbox is invisible. This is why you don't see it. And if I click on it or click on the label tag, things start happening to it. So let's reconstruct this. First of all, we're going to create in this nav, we're going to create an input tag. Now, the type of the input tag, you can see you could already choose, so type in input, column, and then you can type in the type. There's going to be a checkbox. The type is checkbox. We're also going to give this not a name, but a ID to be menu-toggle. Well, there we go. And if we take a look here, we're going to see we have a little chat box. Okay, we can check it, we can uncheck it. Now we're going to create a label tag. And what is interesting, there's a fly attacking me right now. What is interesting about label tags, so let's say label and call it menu. Okay, so I have here the label. If I click on the label tag, nothing happens. But right here where it says in the code 4, and I choose to name the 4 exactly as the ID, now click on the label, is going to check the checkbox. This is a way of hooking up labels to IDs. I'm sorry, to input tags using their ID. So whatever I do, whatever action I take on this label tag is going to influence the input tag. Pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to delete this menu name, and now I'm going to add 3 divs in here. 3 completely empty divs. Oh, so the way you can add divs pretty quickly, or you can add multiple things pretty quickly if you have the extension, type in div, then times and free, and it's going to times and free. So div, then open and close column, because I want this to be empty, or you can also do div times 3, and it's going to create a 3 empty div tags. So div times 3 empty div tags, that's all you need for these little fellows, these 3 bars. Oh, in order to see them, we're going to take care of them just in a couple of minutes, but this has to be empty in order to create them or style them then in CSS. Now, next up, let's create our menu system here. For this, we're going to use, outside of the label tag, we're going to use a unordered list, and this is going to include, so greater than li. This li is going to include a anchor tag. I'm teaching you now emit, and it's going to have a name. Let's say here, not that way, open close curly brackets, name, and then I'm going to step out of it and multiply it times 3. This is not correct. Wait. Now I have to wrap it. So the li also wrap it into a parenthesis. Step outside of the parenthesis times 3. You can see here an emit was going to happen. So 3 tags. Now for, actually 4. Sorry about that. Boom, 4. For the href, you're just going to choose star or hash. Because this, when we click on this, is going to trigger a refresh of the page. So that is all that it does. Stay at home, so on, so on, so on. Now, let's replace this with home, the first name here, the second one with about, and this is going to be service, and the last one will be contact, just as you would have it in a regular navigation. Okay, perfect. So we have kind of created our HTML. That's all that we need for now. Now let's go to CSS and start styling it. And you know what? I'm going to drag and drop the CSS to the right side. And I'm going to have here not that much space. But what is important is for you to right now see what I'm targeting here. So let's start with the body. So let's grab onto, what are you doing? Done. Let's grab onto the body tag, this body, open close curly brackets. And now, first of all, we're going to change the font family of the entire page. So for this, we're going to type in font family, which is the property, and we're going to go with Lucid. Oh, you know what? Let's go with something else. Go with Georgia. This is also a pretty fun font family. Times New Roman. I'm going to delete this, and also I'm just going to delete this. It's a bit more rounded. Okay, now let's change the margin. You know what? Let's do a general reset. The way you do a general reset, we're going to go here. You see, I already have a bit of a margin and padding all over the place. So if it back this page, from the get-go, the page has automatic margin, automatic padding. Go into the body tag. I want to remove this. Now there's one selector, there's the universal selector, that lets you reset everything. You just have to type in star, open, close curly brackets, then margin. I'm going to go with margin 0. Let's take a look at the page. Take off all of the margin. Also going to reset the padding now to 0. Now right here you can reset a couple of things if you want. You could also say that, let's say a list style, and we're going to select the list style to none, and text decoration, we're going to also do a none. Now what this did, it removed those disks from the LIs and also removed underlines from our anchor tags. Okay, now let's go ahead and go into the body tag and change the background color to RGB, and we're going to go with the red of 2, then tab the green of 5, and tab once more for the blue, and this is going to be 22. Let's save it. It's going to have a bluish dark color. Now, I'm not that happy with these fellows, so let's go ahead and select our nav with the ID. So remember, this is the tag. I'm going to select also the ID. You could also just select the specific ID if you want. But I want to be here more specific so you can clearly see what we're doing here. So we're selecting the navigation with the mobile menu ID. So hash for ID selector, mobile menu, go in here and say that the background color of this mobile menu will be a completely dark color. So you could either go with select black or type in hash 000, and this is going to be pretty much a black color. Now we can't see it right here. Yeah, it's over there. Okay, next we're going to add a box shadow, and this will be a 5 pixel spread of 10 pixel and a drop of 70 pixels. And then we could use here RGB, but a so RGB, which is going to have a 2, 4, 3 for red, then a 2, 3, 4 for green, and a 2, 3, 4 for blue, and a 1 for the opacity, of course. So you can play around with this, make it, for example, 0.9. It's going to be less opaque. Play around with it. 1 means basically 100%. So we already got this effect right here. Now, in order to have this silver lining, you're going to add a border. Now, you could also, you either can use a border bottom or a border all around border. I would suggest use a border bottom. The difference is border bottom, we're going to give it a 1 pixel. If you want to make it even thicker, you can give it a 2 pixels, but take care the 1 pixel solid and the color silver. Okay, and there we go. We got our border bottom silver color. If you want to increase it, let's say 4, which is not that beautiful, I will leave it at 1 pixel. Okay, now we need to set it as a position relative because we are going to position a couple of things here as absolute. So we have kind of finished with our main style for the navigation. Now let's go into the UL, so the unordered list. Now, again, I'm going to be really specific, and this is why I'm teaching here right now, specificity. So in the nav with this ID, mobile menu, we have a unordered list. We're going to tackle exactly that unordered list. So I'm going to copy this, space UL. Within that unordered list, we're going to display everything that is in here as flex. Now, because flex, let's just save it, is in a row direction, we can change it to column, or flex direction, column. Remember this from our CSS class, automatically it's a flex row when we apply in flex to something. Now we're going to align the items to the center, moving them in the center of its container, which is the UL. And after that, we're going to display as none, and it's gone. And I'm going to comment this one out so we can still see it when we're styling it. Now let me select this selector again, copy it, paste it down here. We are going to target, I know, and now we're going to target the LIs, the list items. So add to the UL LI, we're going to target all of the LIs, and we're just going to display them as block. Next, we're going to target the anchor tags. Now you need to be really specific with anchor tags, because if I want to change the color for the LI, so color and let's say aqua blue, doesn't matter, it's not going to change, I know, the color of the anchor tags. You need to be really specific about changing anchor tag colors. So we're going to select all of the anchor tags. I'm going to remove this from here and change that color to a white color. So color, you can also play around with this, maybe not white, but something else. White color, there we go. Now let's add a bit of a padding to them. So padding, and we're going to add padding on both axes. So top and bottom, we're going to do 15 pixels, and left and right, we're going to do 20 pixels. Next up, I'm going to show you a specific selector for elements that was not in CSS before 2023 or something like that. Nevertheless, it's the parent selector. So basically, when I'm in here, let me type it out another way. So anchor tags, and I need to be specific once more, anchor tags. But when I hover over an anchor tag, then something should happen. That something should be that the background color should be F555. Okay, so if I hover over an anchor tag, that's going to be its background color. Now the problem is that I had to write another line of code, and I don't want this. So what from Sass was brought in, Sassy CSS, was brought in. It's another type of programming language for CSS. is the parent selector. So ampersand hover and the same thing. And if I comment this part out, you're going to see that it has the same effect. So what are we doing here? We're telling that whatever is the parent, and the parent right now, good, select selector specificity 0, 1, 0. So you can see how it's applied to the anchor tag, because this is the parent. The last thing that we selected here as a selector is the actual parent. So this just means select the parent and add, if in a different state, other properties to it. Okay, so I'm going to leave this in here. Okay, now let's move on to our little button here, our input tag. Now, and by the way, we have to add to this also a class so we can style it more easily. So label, the class, and I just messed this up. So label, I'm going to also add the class here, and the class will be the same as menu btn, because this is going to be our actual button right here. Okay, let's move into our CSS. We're going to select the class of menu btn. So dot for class selector menu dash btn, open close curly brackets, and within here we're going to display it as block. Then we're going to have a cursor as a pointer assigned to this. So we're going to hover over, and we can see it. Our label tag, we're going to have a pointer cursor. Now let's change its width to 30 pixels. Also its height to 30 pixels. Let's position it now absolute. Remember, we are positioning it absolute because we can position it absolute because we positioned our navigation as relative up here. Okay, so we can position our button wherever we want. Now I want to position it to the top 15 pixels, and then right, I'm going to position it 20 pixels. So it's going to be right up here, but we can't see anything. So let's start targeting those divs. So I'm going to copy this and the divs within here. Now, wait, I always showed you the parent selector. So if I do something like parent selector, and within here, the divs, this is going to select all of the divs from the menu button that are included in this selector. So basically, we're going to do here a width of 100%, then a height of 4 pixels for each and every div. Now let's just add a background color of white, and you should already see our divs. Now they're smooshed together, so let's add a bit of space between them. Go down here. Let's say that the margin, top and bottom, will be 6 pixels, and left and right is going to be 0. Okay, so there are our little hamburgers. 2 slices of bread and 1 slice of ham. Okay, now the transition should be 0.3 second. And you know what? I'm going to explain to you just in a couple of seconds what we're doing here, because when we're going to change them from a hamburger into a X like here, this is the transition speed, 0.3 seconds. Okay, now let's select our hash menu and toggle, which is this little fellow right here. Remember, if I click on this label, it's going to check me the checkbox. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, display it as none in order to hide it. I want to see that the checkbox is checked or unchecked. Now, from here, I could do that the parent, which is the menu, in a state of checked, plus the dot menu, the class of menu btn, the first div within it. So in order to select the first div, I'm going to use here, you know what, I'm going to now close my HTML. In order to select the very first div, we're going to do a nth child selector. I'm going to select the very first child. Now I can select the very first div right here. And this first div is going to have the following: a transform rotate of minus 45 degrees. Nope, now it's flat, and going to raise it going to put it down 45 degrees. Now also I'm going to move it because it's not rotating in the middle, but it's rotating so. So I'm going to move it just a bit with the translate on, and this is on both axes. So the first is going to be x minus 9 pixels, comma 5 pixels on the y-axis. Just if I click on it, it should translate, and not translating, and that is because I have here percent instead of degrees. Okay, if I click on this, you get a whoop, go down. So you can see that not only that it's rotating, it's also moving its position. Now let's go to the next one, which is going to be the second child. So I'm just going to copy this. We're going to take care now of the second div. So second child, this little fellow will have a opacity of 0. Okay, so just going to disappear. We could also use a none. Okay, so let's use opacity. Is more a elegant way. Opacity 0. Okay, now let's go to the third one, and we're going to have here. Going to copy the first code. Now we're going to rotate it positively, so upwards 45 degrees, and we're going to move it minus 5 pixels and enough. So let's see. Yep, that's it. Okay, so pretty simple. Main selector, the menu. We're going to display the menu as none. That was that button right up there. Now, because everything is now, hey, you little fly, go away. Everything is here again. So we have our input here. We called it go away. Now within here, we also have the menu button. This menu button has 3 divs and the first child. So within the menu button, so when we click on the label, is triggering the input tag. When that input tag is checked, so the ID is checked, then the immediate element with the class of menu button and its div with and the first child of that div, because if I wouldn't tell it first child is going to select all of the divs, the first child will rotate downwards and move a bit. The second child will disappear and the third child will rotate upwards without JavaScript. The magic of CSS. Okay, now we have a next thing that we need to do, and that is go down here. We could also say that if we have this checked, then you have up, hold down Shift and left to your one key. You have this little squirrely line. This is going to select the immediate UL, the immediate element that is before it, actually, or no, it's after it. Then we're going to select the UL and we're going to display this as flex. Okay, so we want to have this little state. Perfect. And let me just check something real quickly. Let's play this as none. Okay, so I just commented back in this display none, so we're not going to see our elements right there. Only if we click on it, you can see it's already appearing. And one last thing, because also anchor tags are just like LIs, we need to display them. They are displayed actually inline, so we need to display them as block elements. Okay, now we can add the padding to them. That's why the padding was not working. Sorry that I messed that up. Okay, now let's move on to our, we can close this one up so the navigation is working. But how about when we are in a large screen? So we don't want our navigation to be displayed in a large screen like a hamburger menu, only in a small screen. So what we can do now, I'm going to make my editor here smaller, go to a larger screen, and we're going to create a media query. So add media and screen, and we're going to type in here a min-width. And when this minimum width is 768 pixels, which is basically a tablet format, then the nav with the ID of mobile menu and the UL within it will be displayed as flex. If I hit save, then the flex direction will be row, and we're going to justify the content as center. Okay, now we need to manipulate our menus here, our LIs. So let's go to the parent selector, which we're now selecting the UL, and within the UL we have our LIs, and within those LIs we're going to display as inline block. And we can use now the parent selector once more, LIs, because now we need to select in here the anchor tags and say that the padding be 15 pixels and 20 pixels. Okay, and now I'm going to move out of this and just say completely out of the selector, just as that the menu btn now displayed as none. Okay, let's hit save. There we go. But this code, but there we go. After the 768 pixels, the menu is going to be displayed as a regular menu up here. Okay, but if I go lower than that, we're going to have a mobile menu, and now I can trigger this. Also, if this is triggered and I'm going to leave my minimum width screen, then it's going to be displayed as a regular menu. If I go back here, it's going to be displayed as a mobile menu. So hope you enjoyed this little project. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel in order to follow this series of becoming a web developer from basically nothing. You just learned how to create a menu, a reactive menu, a responsive menu that is. So really hope you enjoyed it. My name is NoobleBM. The code is down in the video description. Come by the website. There are a lot of courses and projects for you waiting there. Catch you next time. Happy coding. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.